it's Spencer from Chile, Colorado at our ranchita here, and now it's late July, and it's been a pretty hot couple of months since we planted this garden from our seed snail, and things are going crazy. So we've got squash that's really taking off, and we've got our tomatoes in their cages that we did a video about putting the cages around them. So here's what they look like now. It's been a couple months. And there's a few things we can do to sort of get a little bit of control back with these for the late season, now that it's about time to harvest the tomatoes, and the squash have been going for a little bit here. So we're going to do that. I'm going to show you how to do the tomatoes. Mara will show you how she's been handling the squashes, and then we have a little announcement at the end. All right, we're looking at these Be My Baby tomatoes, and it's a cherry tomato, and we've let it really branch out quite a bit here. So now we want these fruits to start ripening. We're going to do a little bit of pruning. So, for example, we've got this one right here. So here's the leaf, here's the main stalk. We're just going to pull that off. We just snap them off, especially if they're that small. Here's another little one. I'm going to pull that off too. This one has taken off and grown. We can also take that one off. So I'm going to cut it just like that. Now there's some back here that came off and we didn't get them in time. And notice the branches will start branching as well. So we want to pull a couple of those off. But this one's got fruit at the end of it. So if you want to leave it and leave that fruit, you can also top the plant. So I'm going to cut it right above the leaf above that. And then that will prevent it from growing any further and make it a little more manageable, but we still get those fruits. You can go through this and prune it as much as you want. Prune it as many of these little suckers as you want. They'll just keep coming. So whatever makes it most manageable and easy to harvest really is what we're looking for. If it gets too many branches, it's really hard to find the fruit in there. It blocks some airflow, can give them some bacteria and some fungus problems and stuff like that. So we're thinking about airflow, we're thinking about just manageability, and we're thinking about getting that fruit to ripen. And I'm not going to cut all of them back. We'll let this keep going a little bit and figure out what to do with it a little bit later.
Here in high summer, squash is going crazy, and we had a little bit of foresight this year to try something different, which is trellising our summer squash and staking it actually. And I just wanted to show you what that looks like in practice. I'll show you different stages of that process, but first let me show you kind of what it looks like down here. So squash is a vine, and when it's first growing, it isn't very viney. So I usually wait until it's got, its first fruits, and then I leave it alone. And then I come back, and as it grows, I'll cut off the bottom leaves to give it some airflow. Actually, this one should come off too. That won't do anything. And then it creates a lot more ventilation, keeps sort of bacterial wilts and mildew at bay. And I've just been tying it at intervals with some twine. And the plant has been very healthy. I've just done a harvest actually of squash off of this one. We can look at this other one next to it to show how productive it's been. This guy is just pushing out fruit, and it makes it easy to harvest too. It's been really nice to just come out here and just see the fruit easily and harvest it this way. So I've been tying it up about every week. I'll put another cincher around it and take off a few of the bottom leaves to make some more room for airflow. So I wanted to show you a couple different stages of the process. We tend to plant our squash plants really close, so they end up getting really bushy like this section here, which has not been trellised or staked or managed at all. We have been harvesting squash out of it, and it's starting to get pretty unruly. So its neighboring section here I decided to tackle today. So this is what it looks like when you first manage it, which is You know, it looks a little rough, but it will take over. There's a little bit of normal summer pest things going on. I've got a little bit of squash borer going on. I've got a little bit of squash bugs. I've got a little tiny bit of powdery mildew, but this will help all of those things to just keep it a little bit more managed and the airflow at maximum, and getting rid of the dead and dying leaves at the bottom will help put the energy towards the growing of the fruit and the big leaves that help it photosynthesize and eat. So it's been a fun experiment for us. We hope you guys have been also harvesting a ton of squash this year.
As we were looking at the squash and doing some of this management, we just caught sight of one of these under the bottom of one of the leaves. This is freshly hatched out squash bugs. Here's the little eggs. They're all hatched, so that's done. And then these are all the baby squash bugs. So they will start chewing on the leaves, and they can spread some bacterial wilt disease through the leaves and cause a wilting of the leaves. And you think, oh, it's thirsty, it needs some water, but that's actually bacteria building up in the cells of the plants, and actually will kill them. So off camera, I'm going to smash these, and that's what we're going to do to manage some of these guys when we find them. So I won't show you that.
Here we are in our hoop house. We don't have plastic on the hoop house because it's been so hot and oppressive, so it's basically a big trellis situation structure for our tomatoes, for our cucumbers, and some beans. So I wanted to show you, since Spencer mentioned the pruning over in the caged tomatoes, that we have a trellis system here in the hoop house that really shows well one of the practices, which is isolating what we call leaders on each of the plants. So the main stem leader is the biggest one, and then there's always a second leader that comes along a little bit later. And so we've taken to training both leaders to the central string. Having it pruned down on a string keeps that airflow happening, and keeps the plants drier, keeps them focused on just these little solar panels collecting, photosynthesizing, making the plant strong, and makes it a little easier to see where all the fruits are also. So you'll notice that there's some bottom leaves that are yellowing. That's normal. Those leaves are done with their life cycle. They've photosynthesized all that they can do. I'll probably start removing the bottom yellows after a little bit here, but they just keep growing up. They'll grow all the way to the top if we want them to. But yeah, this is the tomato house, and this is another way that you can trellis your tomatoes. Announcement time.
Announcement time. This is the announcement I was talking about. I wanted to introduce you to our two new dachshunds, new helpers on the farm. This is Daisy.
And this is Lily. And we were so lucky enough to adopt them from For the Love of Dogs Vermont just last week. They've been here for about 10 days. They're 2 years old, and they're a bonded pair, and they're exactly what we've always wanted for the farm.
Yeah, and they're such great helpers. They're learning how to walk around and sniff at things, and they're really helpful, as you can see. All right. Thanks for watching.